All right, so you're ready to go deep on Tallboy marketing, huh? Sounds like they're on your radar, and you've got a pretty interesting mix for us to work with here. Their website, all polished up. A&D, a sneak peek into their internal business plan.
Yeah.
We got the public face A&D, what's going on behind the scenes. Always good to see how those match up.
Yeah, definitely a unique opportunity to see how what they're saying lines up, with how they actually do things. And I gotta say, some of what they highlight is a bit unusual, for a marketing agency. Owning all your assets, no long-term contracts. Let's dig into that a little.
Yeah, let's unpack it. Starting with, well, their website. They got some pretty playful language going on. Cleaning up your digital house, inviting people over. Almost makes marketing sound, dare I say, F-U-N.
Right. Not usually first word that comes to mind.
Exactly. But it's definitely a very approachable vibe. Seems geared towards those who, well, might be a little intimidated by the whole digital world.
Yeah, taking the fear factor out of it.
Yeah. All right, so slogans aside, what is Tallboy Marketing? Their business plan calls them a full-service media agency, but it feels like they're going after a very specific type of client.
Absolutely. They're focused, laser focused on business owners who are already crushing it in their field, but maybe, just maybe, don't have the time or the know-how to keep up with all the digital marketing stuff that changes every 5 minutes.
So you're out there making the best widgets in the world, but you hear SEO and you break out in a cold sweat.
These might be your people, yeah. And that leads us to one of the things that really popped for me, their whole no long-term contracts thing. They shout it from the rooftops. Same with you own all of your assets and digital peace of mind on their website. You don't see that kind of talk from agencies every day. Makes you wonder what's going on there.
I was thinking the same thing. It's like they're tackling those big worries people have about agencies head on. Getting trapped in a contract, losing control of your website.
And when you look at their business plan, it starts to make sense. They go on and on about transparency, client empowerment, building trust instead of chasing quick profits. It's interesting.
It is. There's that part where they straight up compare themselves to indirect competitors like TV, radio, print advertising. Their argument is that all that traditional stuff has so many middlemen, eating away at your budget without necessarily delivering clear results.
Right, and they're presenting themselves as the more direct, accountable option.
Bold move.
Yeah.
If they're not banking on those long contracts to keep clients around, they better be delivering on that whole digital peace of mind promise. They're betting the farm on keeping clients happy.
And this brings us to another point that's a bit of a head-scratcher. They are really picky about who they work with. Their business plan has this ridiculously detailed description of their ideal client. It goes way beyond demographics, like into psychographics, almost a personality profile.
Yeah, it's crazy specific. They even mention stuff like their ideal client enjoys outdoor adventures and attends concerts. Like, is that even relevant? I've never seen an agency get that granular.
It seems like they're looking for more than just a client with a budget. It's like they want someone who gets them, values alignment, shared outlook on life and business.
So if we try to unpack this ideal client profile, it seems like they want someone established, successful, but maybe not the most tech-savvy. Stressed about marketing, want more leads, more money, and they value quality over cheapness.
Spot on. They're basically saying, we get you, we understand your pain points, and we're here to fix them. Now, something I did appreciate is that their business plan lays out a pretty frank SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, the whole 9 yards, and they're surprisingly upfront about their weaknesses.
Like what?
Like they're bad at promoting themselves. And they admitted they can get a little too emotionally invested in their client's success, not something you see every day.
You don't. Most companies try to bury that stuff. But is being too emotionally invested actually a bad thing? In this context, I mean.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, genuinely caring about your clients, that can be a huge strength. It differentiates them from those big, faceless agencies. But it could also lead to, burnout or maybe cloud their judgment.
Makes sense. But they do seem aware of that. They mention needing to find ways to manage that as they grow. So they know their limitations, but they're also not running away from the bigger challenges out there. They list the advertising revolution as a major opportunity, suggesting they're ahead of the curve while everyone else is playing catch-up.
For sure. And for everyone listening, this is where it gets interesting for you. Do you feel like you're keeping up with this so-called advertising revolution? Because Tallboy is saying, we are, and we can help you navigate it.
It's a powerful message if you're feeling a little lost in the shuffle. Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of how they work. One thing that really stood out to me in that business plan, their onboarding checklist, it's intense. Google Drive, Apple Maps, every social media platform you can think of, they want access to everything.
Yeah, they go all in. It's like they want to eliminate any surprises down the road by getting the full picture of your digital world right from the start.
Back to that owning it mentality.
Right.
They're not just managing a few ads here and there. They're basically becoming the guardians of your entire online presence.
And that probably feeds into that digital peace of mind they keep talking about, taking all that stress off your plate.
But it does make you wonder, how much does all of this cost?
Well, thankfully, their business plan is pretty transparent about that, too. So they break it down a few ways. Hourly rates if it's a smaller thing, project-based fees if it's, a defined scope of work, and then those monthly retainer packages starting at $2,000.
Okay, so some options depending on what you need. But I did notice something else in their business plan, and it got my eye. They mentioned that they don't get paid based on how much of your money they spend. I guess that's not how all agencies do it.
Yeah, you're right. That is different. They're not incentivized to inflate your ad budget just to line their own pockets. They even say they aim for at least a 25% profit margin on their services. So they're pretty upfront about their own financial goals.
Transparency strikes again. They really want you to feel good knowing where your money's going and what you're getting in return.
Absolutely. And they're not afraid to walk away if it's not a good fit either. They talk about interviewing the prospect as much as the prospect is interviewing them.
So it's a two-way street.
It is.
You don't always see that. Sounds like they're serious about finding those clients who are, really on the same page in terms of values and how they work. I mean, they even have no assholes listed as one of their core values.
It's a unique way to put it.
For sure.
But it definitely underlines their commitment to building strong, positive relationships. And it seems to be working because they mention that their best source of new business is referrals.
Word of mouth is powerful, especially in marketing, where trust is everything. But they're not just sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. They also talk about community outreach, being active in chambers of commerce, local business groups, that kind of thing.
Smart move, especially as they're trying to expand their presence in Colorado. Building those relationships from the ground up, it can make a big difference when you're trying to establish yourself in a new market.
Yeah, for sure. And they've got some pretty big goals for their marketing efforts.
Yeah.
They want their message to convey that they're, a joy to work with, that they can genuinely help businesses grow, and that their clients will be so happy they'll tell all their friends. They want to create a buzz.
It's a tall order, no pun intended.
Oh, I see what you did there.
But it does show a certain level of confidence in what they offer. Which brings us back to that whole advertising revolution thing they mentioned. What exactly are we talking about there? What trends fall under that umbrella?
Well, advertising revolution is pretty broad,
Yeah.
right? But it could include things like the rise of, AI-powered advertising tools, or the increasing importance of personalized marketing, or even that shift away from third-party cookies and towards more privacy-focused approaches.
All big disruptions
Yeah.
in the advertising world, forcing businesses to really rethink their game plan. So Tallboy's basically saying, look, we get it, we're on top of these changes, and we can help you navigate all this crazy stuff.
Compelling pitch, especially if you're a business owner feeling like the rug's being pulled out from under you.
Yeah. But I mean, we've got to talk about the potential downsides too, right? They're no long-term contracts policy. Sure, it sounds good for flexibility, but what if things go south after a couple of months? You're back at square one, scrambling for a new solution.
That's a great point. It's a trade-off, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get the freedom to walk away if you're not happy, but you might not get that same level of commitment, the long-term strategic planning that you would with an agency that's locked in for a year or more.
Exactly. And even their whole emphasis on emotional investment, which could be a strength, right, in terms of building relationships. But, it could also backfire if it leads to burnout or clouded judgment. It's tricky.
It is. So for anyone listening out there, it sounds like the million-dollar question is, does this style, this very specific way of doing things, align with your needs and preferences as a business owner?
Right. If you're someone who values flexibility, transparency, and that personal touch, Tallboy could be a great fit. But if you're more comfortable with a long-term contract and a more hands-off, data-driven approach, it might not be the right match.
It's all about finding what works best for you and your business. No one-size-fits-all solution.
And let's not forget their intense onboarding process. It shows commitment, sure, but it could also be a bit much for some people. Are you okay with basically handing over the keys to your entire digital world.
Something to think about. It seems like they really want to own that digital side so you don't have to worry about it. But it does require a certain level of, I guess, trust and letting go.
And speaking of control, they're adamant that you, the client, retain ownership of all your digital assets. It's not like they're holding your website hostage or anything.
Right, it's all on their core values. What's in it for the client?
Yeah.
They seem very genuine about wanting their clients to feel empowered, even as they're taking on a lot of the work.
It's definitely a unique approach, but it seems to be central to their whole philosophy.
It really does feel like they have like a distinct personality.
Mm.
You know, a tall boy way of doing things. It's not just about the marketing stuff. It's about finding the right fit.
Yeah.
For your business and your, well, personality.
Yeah. It all goes back to that ideal client profile, right? They're looking for someone specific, someone who's fiscally conservative, sure, but also values quality, enjoys the finer things in life, owning an ATV, attending concerts. It's like they're looking for a friend as much as a client.
Totally. We want to work with people we like, people who get us. And remember, they're a small local business themselves. They're not answering to some big corporation, you know?
Right. And in their business plan, they even say they're not looking to get huge or take on outside funding. They want to stay small and mighty, keep that personal touch, be picky about who they work with.
So going back to that whole cleaning up your digital house metaphor, what did it actually look like day to day? Their onboarding checklist gives us some hints. They want access to everything: Google Drive, Apple Maps, every social media account you've got. It's a full-on digital deep clean.
Not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. They're basically saying, we'll take care of your whole digital world. It's a lot of responsibility, but it also shows a level of, I don't know, commitment, attention to detail that you might not find with a bigger agency.
And to be fair, they're super upfront about the fact that you, the client, still own and win all that stuff. They're not going to take your website and run off with it. It's even in their core values, right? What's in it for the client?
I think they're trying to reassure people who might be worried about losing control. You know, when you bring in a marketing agency.
It's all about empowering the client, even as they're taking over the day-to-day management of those digital platforms. And that empowerment thing seems to be part of the whole client relationship. They talk about transparency with pricing, open communication, building those long-term partnerships based on trust. They even talk about interviewing potential clients to make sure it's a good fit. So it's more than just getting a signature on a contract. It's about making sure everyone's happy, on the same page about what they want to achieve. And at the end of the day, only you can decide if Tallboy Marketing is the right fit for your business.
Yeah, we've given you a pretty good look under the hood. Their philosophy, their approach, strengths and weaknesses, all that. Now it's up to you to decide if it's a match.
Do you value that flexibility, the personal touch? Are you comfortable handing over the reins to your digital world? Do their values, their personality, match with yours? Those are the questions to ask yourself.
And remember, the marketing world, it's always changing. Even if Tallboy isn't the right fit right now, you got to stay curious, stay informed, keep looking for ways to improve your business, never stop learning.
Exactly. Keep learning, keep experimenting, keep pushing the boundaries. That's how you stay ahead of the curve. So good luck out there, everyone.